to Two Blokes Chat Buddhism, episode 1, season 1. Today we'll be covering a little bit of context around it, perceptions, high level stuff, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think season 1 we'll just add a bit more context around what Buddhism is before we kind of dwell into the teachings and the practices and the theory behind it. Like Max said, today we'll just talk about, perceptions, conceptions, misconceptions about Buddhism that people have, especially in the West. Maybe we could start off with you, Max. What comes to your mind when you first hear the word Buddhism?
Right. I was raised Christian, Catholic, sort of atheist. I don't know. I've got a very white Western view of it. The thing that comes to mind is like religion, right? It's a religion like Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, etc. But it's apparently not. It's like a philosophy or something.
Yeah,
do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I guess it's both. Whereas there's lots of parallels to Stoicism and stuff like that, which is a philosophy. But obviously that philosophy is, through time has been converted into religion by adding extra maybe cultural traditions and customs on top of it. So different countries have different versions of Buddhism, right? That almost looks like a religion now, but the actual theories and the actual texts from early Buddhism, which what we're going to focus on in this podcast, really aligns with philosophy more than a religion.
Okay. Right. So what is Tao Buddhism? I've heard that
Tao
before.
I haven't heard that one.
Okay.
I guess it's like Tao, like the Chinese Tao philosophy.
Right.
Yeah, so probably like a mix between that. I'm sure they have influenced each other over there because, I don't know. When I think from like being in Australia for a while, when I think pictures of Buddhism or representations of it, I see the Dalai Lama. I see happiness. I see smiles. I see forgiveness. That's what I see over here, which is interesting. What do you think?
Yeah. Like the Dalai Lama, I guess I know who that is, and it's he's big old Buddhist. But I think from what when I talk to people about religion or whatever, it's like people associate more like just regular monks with the robes, the bald head, and on top of a Himalayan mountain meditating for years.
Yeah.
As that's kind of what we see it as. I don't really think of the Dalai Lama when I think of Buddhism, but I watched an episode of MasterChef when I was 10 and he was on it, and it was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's a guy. But yeah, it's kind of not as intertwined with my perception of Buddhism as maybe your perception of Western perception is.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. And hang on, is MasterChef that old?
Yeah, it's been around for a while.
Yeah, turning into religion.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I think people who know a bit about Buddhism, maybe a superficial understanding of it, just says, Buddhism might be it's all about suffering and just telling you that everything is suffering.
Oh.
Right, which is it's partly correct because there's four truths that are in the teachings. The first one is that everything is suffering. We'll get into what the 4 is later on, maybe, but not maybe we will. But but that's not all, right? It's I was just listening to someone speak, and he was like, that's like telling going to prison and telling someone, you can't escape, like you're in prison, and like, just rubbing it in their face kind of thing.
Right.
But it's not that. It's like the Buddha did say everything is suffering, but obviously there's a teaching that follows on how to escape the suffering, right? It's not just suffering. And yeah, I was just seeing that on the internet, just, I guess, probably just memes about how it's sort of presented as either like a very cheerful sort of philosophy or like a very nihilistic, suffering, everything's, depressing kind of view. But I don't think either is true.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely, I've received more of the super happy, at peace with life sort of
Zen.
view
Is
of it.
does that come to your mind? Like the word Zen?
Yeah. Zen. I wrote that down. I was going to talk about it. Like the Zen. Like I'm just going to meditate and be here, and because like meditation and mindfulness and all this stuff is like coming into popular culture, and I feel like a lot of people would be getting into Buddhism, and like meditation practices. They're kind of linked, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
right?
I think some people think that Buddhism is just meditation as well.
Okay.
Right, but it's kind of wrong, because you see all these gurus around in like in the West and in India and stuff like that, who are abusing their power, assaulting their students, or they're very superficial. They have like Rolls Royce and stuff. It's pretty cool to look at. It's like a documentary, I think. I forgot what it's called, but it was like, it's very
That'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. But so meditation by itself isn't the solution that's been taught. So meditation needs to be paired up with wisdom. So in meditation, there's two types. So one's called samadhi, which basically means concentration, right? And that concentration could be, good or bad, right? You can be concentrated on a bad motive, like people, let's say people who are killers can be really fixated on killing, and that's still concentration. Their mind's not varying, they're in that flow state, but obviously not a good outcome. So you need that wisdom that matches the concentration. You kind of need both. So meditation's been around in India for like ages as well. So it's not a new thing that, the Buddha created, but what he created was that second bit, which is right wisdom, that critical wisdom to sort of guide that concentration to the right point. And I think that's what people also just, just think about Buddhism, that it's just meditation, but yeah, it's not.
So much more.
So much more. We will cover all of that coming soon.
Cool. But that's a good link. I wanted to talk about the Buddha, because he is kind of like the mascot, the deity figure, I guess. A lot of people coming from the Western Christian background would be like, oh, well, that's like the God, right? We have to see it through the lens of Christianity and say, that's the God. Everybody loves this guy. But he was Jesus was a real dude.
Yeah.
And the Buddha was a real dude.
Yeah.
So is he like worshipped the same way Jesus is?
Yeah, I think it was cool that you said, a deity, like that's a very theistic view of Buddhism, right? But it's the whole point of the teachings is that, the Buddha is just a normal guy, just a bloke. And then he just what that does is that it empowers people. It's not like you need to be the son of God to, escape this. Any guy can do it. Any woman can do it if they, apply the correct principles, And you're right. It's he was a real guy in, I think, 400 BC. So I think 500 to 400 BC. I need to get the exact date. We'll cover that as well. But he's when people worship the Buddha, with like all these religions, like the Buddhist religions there are nowadays, when they worship, let's say, a statue of the Buddha or something like that, they're kind of worshipping the idea of the Buddha. The Buddha means the awakened one, right? Which means, they are awakened, they know what the root of suffering is and they know the way out of it, right? And anyone can do that, right? So when they worship an image of the Buddha, it's worshipping the idea of person who is able to do that, right? And the qualities that enable that person to do that, right? And yeah, when they do those chantings and stuff, they're kind of telling these qualities of a person who, if they if you have those qualities, they can be awakened, right? So they can become a Buddha. And there's been multiple Buddhas in the past, and there will be in the future as well. So it's this one Buddha that we kind of talk about now is called Gautama Buddha. So that's just the name of that Buddha, that guy basically. And it's very different to let's say Christianity, where there's no superpowers, no son of God or anything like that. It's just he just attained a state where anyone can attain, right?
Okay, so it's kind of like the Avatar.
No, it's not, because it's like,
I mean, yeah, apart from superpowers.
Yeah, because the Dalai Lama is Avatar kind of situation. It's like from what I know, I don't know much about that Buddhism, but it's after Dalai Lama passes away, there's another Dalai Lama that appears, and there's like it's like Aang, like Avatar, The Last Airbender. It's like that. It's like based off that. It's like you have these little, like they have these objects, and he's got to like select the correct objects, and if he does, he's like the Dalai Lama,
the next Avatar.
Yeah, basically, like it's straight up like that, and its name's like like this Dalai Lama's name is like Tenzin or something. But there's no eternal Buddha that sort of reincarnates through a human, every whatever amount of years. It's a state where you can reach if you follow the correct path, basically.
Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like the Buddha's inside us all along.
Yeah. So. That's a huge part of I think Mahayana Buddhism, which is a separate type of Buddhism. So that's what the Dalai Lama is involved in. That everyone has something called the Buddha nature, right? Bodhicitta means everyone has the potential to be the Buddha, and not even everyone, everything has Buddha nature. I saw a meme about if a meme has Buddha nature, and there's this whole discussion about it. But anyways, yeah, that's Mahayana Buddhism. But I think with this, we'll touch on the schools soon. But but we will be mainly focusing on early Buddhism. That is before it kind of split into different schools and became religions, right? So this is the real early what the Buddha actually said.
Yeah, straight from the horse's mouth.
Right? Yeah. The source. But I think you're right. Like saying like Zen Buddhism is pretty big now as well, and there's so many other ones in Sri Lanka and Burma and Myanmar. I think Myanmar and Burma is the same country. They are, I think. They just changed the name.
Branding region.
Straight up. And they have Theravada Buddhism, which is kind of very close to early Buddhism. Very, very close. And then there's Mahayana Buddhism, which is in some other countries. So Dalai Lama is a Mahayana Buddhist, so that's a bit different. I think I've seen, I don't know, I need to look into it. I've seen Mahayana monks like marrying, and they're doing all this stuff. It's a bit different. It's a bit more. They call it Mahayana because it's literally means Maha means like large, Yana means like a vessel. Right, it's like a bigger vessel, so it's more for the bigger audience, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the early Buddhism is like, it's kind of meant for the sort of intellectuals, in quotes, right? It's very metaphysical and stuff. The really early teachings, but yeah, and then there's also Zen Buddhism, which is like Taoism and sort of Japanese culture all mixed into one as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually like that. I like Zen. And there's Vajrayana, which is in Tibet. You see all those mandalas and these crazy rituals and stuff. Yeah, that's Vajrayana. So there's all these schools. But we probably do an episode on just the schools, sort of going through what these schools are and what they mean. But yeah.
Cool. I think just before we wrap up, I want to I've done some reading in my time, right? I've gone to Wikipedia a few times.
Educate. Wikipedia.
Like in high school, what's this about? So apparently there's some school of Buddhism that believes in a temporal loop, like the universe ends and it starts again.
Yeah.
Is that one school or is that like a common thing?
I don't know, but by the sounds of it, it sounds like the prevailing thought that was in India at the time anyways.
Okay.
Right. So there's a thing called the Vedic philosophy, or they're from a bunch of texts called the Vedas, right? They predates Buddhism, like even at the time of the Buddha, that was like ancient knowledge, right? So they're really ancient. They did like science and maths and astronomy and everything. But their sort of thing is there's this yugas, I think they're called yugas, which means like eras kind of, and the whole universe comes to an end and then it starts again, and just repeats infinitely. And obviously because the Buddha was born around that time period and in India, so he's heavily influenced by the prevailing thought of the Vedas, and it's in the Buddhist philosophy where because everything comes to an end, every single thing comes to an end. So from your mind, from your thought right now that you're having to the whole universe, they all start and they all end. So
right.
It's just the time that it takes to do that, right? But that's I don't know which school that it is. I think it's probably in all of them. And I think that's a very common sort of common thing in ancient cultures and philosophies.
Yeah, cool. All right. It just kind of blew my mind as a 15-year-old. So.
Wait, was this from when you were 15?
Yeah. Went down like a good Wikipedia hole.
I love that. It's the best.
Sick.
Easy.
Well, I guess would that do it for this episode?
I can say, yeah. We'll maybe touch on different schools of Buddhism next time.
I'm keen. Dude.
Awesome.
Like, sounds like there's so many cool names. Like,
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like where like people in the West, how they pronounce it versus how I pronounce it. It's totally different, and it's like sometimes I gotta westernize my pronunciation. And something that's called diphthongs or something. It's like some of these sounds, if you haven't made it since you were young, you can't really make it, or you can't even you can hear like the distinction between the sounds. So things like like nirvana and stuff, like they're all like, I say it differently because I know the actual, like I know the language. But it's interesting.
So it's not just a band.
It's not a band, no. That's the thing. We'll kind of touch on sort of the languages as well. It's kind of stems from very ancient language, sort of akin to Latin in Europe. And lots of the modern languages in Southeast Asia are stemming from that. So most of the people in those countries can pronounce it really well. But probably others can't. So but we'll if you talk about something very technical, we'll put that in the show notes. We'll probably put a post up on our social media so you can sort of learn and do your own research as well from there. But yeah, I think that'll be it for this episode.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Yeah,
see you next time.
See ya.